Okay, so have you ever been absolutely convinced someone was lying to you, only to find out, nope, you were dead wrong? Or the other way around, you trusted them completely, and then the facts came out? Yeah, it happens. Today, we're going to get into the weeds on this, breaking down the really complex and honestly super misunderstood science of spotting a lie. It's something we all kind of pride ourselves on, right? This gut feeling, this sixth sense for when someone's being dishonest. We just feel like we know. But if we're being honest with ourselves, how good are we really? When the pressure's on, what's our batting average? 54%. That's it. A huge study found that our accuracy is barely, and I mean barely, better than just flipping a coin. Think about that. For pretty much every other lie we hear, we get it completely wrong. So why are our instincts so off the mark? Well, the biggest reason we're so bad at this is that we've all been taught to look for the completely wrong things. We're on this hunt for universal tells, these foolproof signs of lying that just flat out don't exist. You know the list by heart, I'm sure. The shifty eyes, the topping fingers, the nervous sweating, tripping over their words. Pop culture, movies, TV shows, they have drilled this image of a liar into our heads. The only problem? The actual science says, nope, that's not it. And this quote right here from a PhD in forensic linguistics, I mean, it's about as clear as it gets. There is no single reliable Pinocchio's nose. There's no one thing that all liars do. The person, the situation, what's at stake, it all completely changes the game. And this idea, the Othello error, this perfectly explains why we get it wrong. Just imagine for a second that you're being accused of something serious that you absolutely did not do. You'd be nervous, right? You'd be anxious. You might fidget or stumble over your words because you're terrified no one's going to believe you. But someone watching might see all that anxiety and think, aha, guilty. That's the trap. We mistake the stress of being disbelieved for the stress of lying. So, if looking for these simple tells is a dead end, what's the alternative? Well, researchers have come up with a totally new way of thinking about this. It shifts the focus away from body language and onto what's happening inside the brain. At the end of the day, it all boils down to this one simple truth. Telling the truth is easy. It's basically an act of memory. You just pull up the file and report what's in it. But lying? Oh, lying is work. You have to invent a story, make sure it's believable, keep all your details straight, actively push down the real story, and watch the other person to see if they're buying it. It is a serious mental workout. And this mental workout has a scientific name, cognitive load. You can think of it like the processing power on your computer. Simple tasks don't use much, but running a really complex program, that eats up all your resources. Well, lying is one of those complex programs, and it puts a massive strain on our mental resources. And that strain, that's something you can use. So instead of just passively watching for clues, a new cognitive approach says you can go on the offense. You can actively make lying even harder. Researchers have found 3 key ways to do this. You can impose extra mental tasks on someone, you can get them to talk more and provide more details, or you can hit them with questions they could never have seen coming. And here is just a brilliant example of this in action. Ask someone to tell you their story backward, from the end to the beginning. Now, if you're telling the truth, it's hard, but you can do it. You're just replaying a memory from a different starting point. But if you're lying, if your story is a fragile construction you just built, trying to tell it in reverse can make the whole thing just crumble. The cognitive load becomes too much. And the results? They speak for themselves. I mean, look at this. The old way, just watching and guessing, gets you about 56% accuracy. Remember our coin toss? But when interviewers actively use these cognitive techniques to make lying harder, the accuracy jumps to 71%. In the world of deception detection, that is a massive, massive breakthrough. Now, all this mental strain doesn't just make people mess up their story. It actually forces liars to use very specific patterns in how they talk. Their whole communication style changes. And if you know what you're listening for, you can start to see their strategy. This is the other really fundamental shift in thinking. A lie isn't just a behavior like a nervous tic. It's a performance. It's a communication strategy. The person is actively trying to manage what you know and what you don't, all while trying to seem credible. And to pull that off, they need a game plan. So research has found 2 really common but totally different linguistic strategies liars use. On one hand, you have the prolix and personal approach. This person talks a lot. Their story is long, full of personal feelings. But if you listen closely, the key details are super vague. They say my all the time, my friend, my day, which sounds really close and personal, but it actually frames them as an observer, not the one doing things. Their goal is basically to be cooperatively vague, to talk a lot without saying anything real. Then, on the other end of the spectrum, you have the impersonal strategy. This person is the opposite. They're direct, they use short sentences, they create distance by constantly talking about other people. He did this, she said that. Their goal is simple: minimize their own role and get out of the spotlight as fast as possible.
Okay, so what does all of this actually mean for us in our day-to-day lives? Well, the huge takeaway here is that we have to stop looking so hard for tells and start listening, not just for words, but for the entire strategy behind them.
Let's just quickly recap this new playbook. Rule number 1, forget about finding a single tell. It's a myth. Ditch it. Rule 2, always keep in mind that lying is hard work for the brain. It's mentally exhausting. Rule 3, listen for the strategy. Is the person trying to bury you in vague details, or are they trying to create distance by talking about everyone else? And finally, Rule 4, context is king. None of this happens in a vacuum. The stakes, the situation, the person, it all matters.
When you start to see deception this way, not as a simple giveaway, but as a complex strategy, it changes everything. It's not about becoming some kind of human lie detector. It's about becoming a more thoughtful, more critical, and frankly, more strategic listener yourself. Which really makes you wonder, doesn't it? With this new framework in mind, who are you going to be listening to a little differently from now on?